So when Steve Jobs came back to Apple ages ago, he was ousted and then he returned back to Apple. He set about rebranding the company, right? Restructuring it and coming up with a new strategy, a plan of action to take it from almost the brink of, the abyss back to its former glory. And there was this one video that I was watching, a very interesting video that it's Steve Jobs on the campus talking to his team, introducing a new marketing campaign that they were launching. And prior to that, he gives a little talk, which is the most powerful thing that I've heard. All those years ago, and it's still relevant today in 2020. So let me just read you what he says, and then we can discuss the implications of what he said. So he says, to me, marketing is about values. There is a very complicated world. It is a very noisy world, and we're not going to get a chance to get people to remember much about us. No company is. And so we have to be really clear on what we want them to know about us. Now, Apple, fortunately, is one of the half a dozen best brands in the whole world right now, up there with Nike, Disney, Coke, Sony. It is one of the greatest of the greats, not just in this country, but all around the globe. But even a great brand needs investments and caring if it's going to retain its relevance and vitality. And the Apple brand has clearly suffered from neglect in this area in the last few years, and we need to bring it back. The way to do that is not to talk about speeds and megabytes. It's not to talk about myths and megahertz. It's not to talk about why we are better than Windows. The dairy industry tried for 20 years to convince you that milk was good for you. It's a lie, but they tried anyway. The sales were going nowhere. And then they tried Got Milk campaign, and the sales had gone up. So the best example of all, and one of the greatest jobs of marketing in the universe, has ever been Nike. Remember, Nike sells a commodity. They sell shoes. And yet, when you think of Nike, you feel something different than a shoe company in their adverts. As you know, though they don't ever talk about the product. They don't ever tell you that their air soles, about their air soles and why they are better than Reebok's. So what does Nike do in their advertising? They honor great athletes, and they honor, and that's who they are. And that's what they're about. So the question we asked was, our customers want to know who Apple is and what we stand for. Where do we fit in this world? And what we're about isn't making boxes for people to get their jobs done, although we do that well. We do that better than almost anybody in some cases. But Apple's about something more than that. Apple at the core, its core value is that we believe that people with passion can change the world for the better. That's what we believe. And we've had the opportunity to work with people like that. We've had the opportunity to work with people like you, with software developers, with customers who have done it in some big and some small ways. And we believe that in this world, people can change it for the better. And that those people that are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that actually do. And so, what we're going to do, and our first brand marketing campaign in several years, is to get back to that core value. A lot of things have changed. The market's totally different place than it was a decade ago, and Apple is totally different. Apple's place in it is totally different. And believe me, the products and distribution strategies and marketing, manufacturing are totally different. But values and core values, those things shouldn't change. The things that Apple believed in at its core are the same things that Apple really stands for today. So we wanted to find a way to communicate this. And what we have is something that I'm very moved by. It honors those people who have changed the world, Some of them are living, some of them are not. The ones that aren't, as you will see, if they ever used the computer, it would have been a Mac. The name of this campaign is Think Different. It's honoring the people who think different and who move this world forward. And this is what we are about. It touches the soul of the company. Okay, I know that's a rather a long paraphrasing or reading out of what Steve Jobs said. Now, the funny thing is that premise is so relevant today after what? 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, right? It is so relevant today. You got to go back to your core values. In this noisy kind of market environment, right? Stop talking about just the features or the details of your product or service. Tell people what you stand for. How are you different? What does your brand stand for and why they should care? It's about telling them how you align with them. In fact, showing them that you align with your target audience. And you do that by talking about the things that your audience cares about, right? They care about their problems. Your product or service probably helps solve those problems. Now, they don't really care if your product is the best in the world if it doesn't help them solve their problem, right? Product or service. So make 2020 your year where your marketing and your branding, your strategy is all about communicating your core values. In fact, coming up with core values if you don't have them, or identifying your core values if you haven't really crystallized them, and then communicating them. I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below. Let's talk about this. I will try and explore more about how you communicate core values, in fact, how you come up with core values, and how you communicate them in other videos. But for now, just watch this advert. I'll leave a link in the section below, and watch this advert and see the masterful way Steve Jobs talks about the relevance of core values. Take care. See you in the next video.